All right, so there's this one mental exercise that we get you to do as part of the Unstoppable Life Planning Guide. It's all designed to help you stop feeling the Sunday jitters, stop feeling anxious, and to just get more proactive in your life. It's this exercise that has consistently helped me get centered over the last few years. It's an exercise that stops you from being a complete to yourself. We're gonna bleed that part out. On today's episode, I'm gonna walk you through this exercise. It's called the 5-year self. Intro. What's up, everybody? I'm TK, and you are watching another Unstoppable Sunday. Unstoppable Sunday is about spending 15 minutes to get more proactive in our lives. It's to stop the Sunday jitters, it's to stop the Monday scaries, it's to actually make it so that you pause, figure out how the last week went, and then get proactive about the next 7 days. The way we do this is we answer these two questions. Number one, where am I? And number two, what do I do next? All of this is designed to help you get more proactive, get centered, and actually get more from the week that's ahead. Today's episode, I want to talk about this exercise that we developed that helps people get more centered in their lives. So one of the common things that we all share on this channel, if you're watching this channel, you might actually have this problem, is that we're very good at setting goals. What we're really bad at is as we are approaching goals and about to crush goals, because we're so growth oriented, and I've had this for decades, because I'm so growth oriented, I'll quickly set another bigger goal. I'll quickly move the goalpost. So as I'm approaching this goal that I'm working on towards for years, instead of just like letting it sit, celebrating, just like taking it easy, putting into like, let's just put it in cruise control, I'm so quick to move the goalpost. On one hand, that's what makes us high-performing people. That's what makes us grow. That's what makes us move forward in life. On the other hand, we are being complete assholes to ourselves. The reason for that is just as we're about to get wins, we move the goalpost, we set bigger goals, and we don't take that space to really figure out what we've accomplished. And over time, this leads to burnout. This leads to us wondering, like, are we even good enough? Like, why haven't I had a real win yet? These are all things that leads us to questioning our self-worth. The problem with all this is, on one hand, that's what makes us us, that's what makes us high-performing, that's what makes us go after bigger things. On the other hand, it's seriously mean to ourselves and doesn't actually help us be high-performing. It's a serious conundrum, it goes in conflict, it's in our innate nature, it's definitely in my innate nature. So, I recognized this a few years ago when I started to wonder, like, why don't I feel more successful? Why don't I feel like I've had some wins? This feels like a giant slog. And that's when I started to develop this exercise that I've used over the last few years and has been super powerful. We teach this in our Unstoppable Life Planning Guide to help people get more proactive in their lives. And this exercise is called the 5-year self. Here's how it works. Imagine there's two people meeting for coffee. So these are the two people. Now, here's the trick. The two people, on one hand, one of them is you from today. That's you today meeting for coffee. The other person is you from 5 years ago. You from 5 years ago, just if you can just kind of close your eyes and just imagine where you were, what you were doing. A mutual friend has introduced the two of you to meet for coffee. You from today happens to share the same values, the same goals, the same aspirations, a similar path, the same background as you from 5 years ago. So the mutual friend was like, you guys have similar goals. One is like a lot farther ahead. So why don't you guys meet? Maybe that he can be a mentor to you. So you meet and you sit down and you get some coffee. You from today, you from 5 years ago, complete strangers to each other, but happens to be the same person, just from different times. You from today start to describe what you do on a daily basis. You start to describe your work, you start to describe your wins that you've had, the things that you've accomplished over the last few years, the things that you're excited about, how you spend your time today, what you're excited about for the next 5 years, some stories about what you've learned and what you've encountered and the experiences that you have. And for some reason, you from 5 years ago, as you listen to this person, you start to feel, you can't quite put your finger on it, but you start to get that feeling that you're cut from the same cloth. You start to get that feeling like, oh my God, like, I want to be that person. Like, that's cool. They have a really cool day. This is why this exercise works really well. You from today has forgotten who you were 5 years ago. 5 years ago, you were undoubtedly in a very different space. 5 years ago, you had different dreams possibly that you look at today and you're like, oh yeah, like I did that already. You from 5 years ago would meet you today and be so proud of you. If you look at the last 5 years of my life, they have been brutal. Hands down, brutal. Lots of success, but also lots of road bumps, lots of challenges, failures. Oh my God. Now, I'm not saying you today looks back on 5 years ago and everything was perfect and you just killed it and you crushed it. But the reality of it is, like, if you really look yourself in the mirror and you look at you today, you from 5 years ago meeting you today would be incredibly proud of you. Because the chances are, if you're watching this channel, you're a growth-oriented person. You're a high-performing person. You've grown over the last 5 years through good and bad. And so often when we're sitting there and we're just looking at ourselves in a point in time, we don't look at just how far we've come. It's only in the moments where someone from 5 years ago, maybe you or maybe a close friend that hasn't seen you in a while, that has the context, can point out, look at how far you've come in 5 years. All the time, high-performing people, growth-oriented people like you and me set the goalpost. As we approach the goalpost, we move the goalpost. We don't take the time to win. We don't take the time to celebrate, to pause. We fear complacency. And on one hand, that makes us better and more powerful, but on the other hand, it hurts us because we don't realize just how far of a road we've traveled, how much we've grown, how much we've gotten better at what we do, and how the dreams we have for ourselves are bigger. And even though we may have days with problems, those problems are higher level problems. Now look, there is going to be a certain percentage of people watching this video that says, no, actually I'm worse off from 5 years ago. And I'm sorry for that. That's still an opportunity for you to look ahead for the next 5 years. If you look at my last episode, there's this saying that we did. I think I have the card here somewhere. I do have it here. There's a saying that we did, it's one of my favorite sayings, is this too shall pass. If for the last 5 years you've had tremendous growth, recognize it, look at it and say, this too shall pass. I get to now decide what happens for the next 5 years. Do I go even bigger? Do I stay the same? Or does it get worse? If you've had a terrible last 5 years, this too shall pass as well. Because you can now plan ahead for the next 5 years and say, I'm gonna punch these problems in the face and I'm gonna be a better version of me 5 years from now. This is one of those exercises that we walk you through in our Unstoppable Life Planning Guide. I'll link to it below, it's completely free, you can download it. The way we approach this, we want to help people like you live a more proactive life. So we start with Unstoppable Sundays. We help you take stock of your last 7 days and your next 7 days. As you get comfortable with that, then we help you take stock of the next year. And as you get comfortable with that, we do exercises like this, like the 5-year self-exercise, to help you think about where were you over the last 5 years and who do you want to become over the next 5 years. So this episode is to remind you, stop being so mean to yourself. Recognize how far you've come and how much you've grown over the last 5 years through good and bad. And start to think about who do you want to be in the next 5 years. We tend to underestimate what we can accomplish in 5 years or 10 years. And we tend to overestimate what we can do in a year. Start taking a long view. If you want to learn more about this, follow the link below. We have our Unstoppable Life Planning Guide, completely free. That'll teach you all the core concepts around this and what you need to do. And just remember, everyone needs a strategy for their lives, but yours needs to be unstoppable. I'm TK. This has been another Unstoppable Sunday. Now stop watching online videos and get back to work and go crush this next week. See you later.